Hi. Hi, everyone. It's good to be here. I know weeks ago, I talked about coming on here talking about perfectionism. I get a lot of my ideas when I'm working with clients because the truth be known that um, if one person deals with it, another person is definitely going to deal with it, right? So I wanted to come on here and talk about perfectionism. Being an energy healer of almost 25 years, I think it's 25 years, 1997, into 1996, I should say. So I see a lot of perfectionism. So let's talk about what it looks like, first of all. So perfectionism is when you want things to be perfect. Maybe um, you're working on a project. It could be a business project. It could be a home project. And you can't quite get it done because it isn't quite perfect. It's not done. It's not finished. So you're always finding something else wrong with it that you have to fix it. Okay. Also, when we look at ourselves as human beings, the thing with perfectionism is that it makes us very judgy. And so when we're judgmental of others, it kind of ruins our connection with a person. And so we carry that energy around that maybe I'm better than you. So I had done a session with someone a few weeks ago and perfectionism came up. Like, I can't do this because it's not quite right. And I said, just show up and do it. And even this live Facebook live is not quite perfect, but I don't care. You know, I wrote down a couple things about perfectionism, and then it's like, okay, well, what are we going to talk about, Tomasa? I think the best things when we come on lives is the things that are channeled and the wisdom that is channeled and comes off the cuff, and rather than I'm reading some notes, right? So, so perfectionism can paralyze you, can paralyze you from completing things. So perfectionism shows up when we can't finish a project. Perfectionism shows up when we can't finish a business or launch a business because we're trying to get everything quite ready, but it might not be ready, just not so perfect. Perfectionism shows up in how we interact with others. And the way we interact with others is, so to speak, that um, I'm better than you. So I'm going to act better. And that's what came out in this session a few weeks ago that this person thought, well, I'm going to be perfect for my parents because my brothers and sisters, my siblings, aren't perfect. They get me in trouble. So I'm going to be perfect. I'm going to be the perfect child. I'm going to be the one that, does everything right. And let's talk about this because a lot of this stems from our childhood that maybe we didn't quite do something correct. We got reprimanded for not completing something or not getting it right. And then therefore we embody this energy of that I'm not perfect. And let's look at what I'm not perfect equates to. I'm not perfect can equate to I'm not good enough. It can equate to I'm not worthy. And then it shows up in our lives. And so it's this noise in the background that shows up when we're trying to maybe if you work in corporate America, you're trying to get a job done. I watch one of my clients right now go through that. Like, oh my God, I can't do anything right. So she's carrying this energy of I'm not perfect enough for them. They're always going to judge me. So she's sitting. Can you imagine feeling hyper vigilant about am I going to please them or not? And so the pleasing really needs to come from here and within yourself. And even so, that can carry an energy of perfectionism. So, and then if you are walking around like, that's not perfect, then guess what? You can't complete things. So I also want to point out, just from my 20, almost 25 years of being an energy here, the energy that perfectionism carries. So what I see is the energy of folks having anxiety and panic attacks. And so it's like, oh my God, I have to appear this way. So it's like almost like a status symbol. You have to have the status that you got it all together. So this is funny because it was probably a decade ago when I used to walk around like this. I'm the girl who has it all together, but is a hot mess inside. So I used to walk around like that. And I used to do these retreats, these 5 element retreats for women, and we laughed about it. And I remember one of my, I would probably call her one of my sisters, one of my sorors. She said, "Oh my God, I realized I don't have to be that girl who has it all together, but is a mess on the inside." And so, that's what I want to say to you all. I even see this in men, by the way. They're not, they, they're looking for especially the men who are out there dating and they have never been married in their lives. So they're looking for that perfect mate. They're looking for that perfect, person. And so if she doesn't match it, then, or maybe, he sees that she looks more perfect than him, then all of a sudden he's got to go and throw all these judgments at her. I was just talking with a girlfriend about the other day. Like they throw all these judgments at you and sort of like, oh my God. And really what's happening is their own insecurity of not feeling perfect enough for you. And maybe, it's not that they're not perfect. It's just that they are judging themselves as perfect. And so if we judge that on ourselves, then we radiate that out. And then we got everybody trying to walk around be perfect. What is perfect and who defined perfect anyway, right? So it's very deep seated. It comes from something that happened in our childhood, and it could come from a past life. It can also be deep seated that it's in the unconscious that is passed down through our DNA. So maybe mom or dad model what perfectionism looks like, and then they pass it on to the child. And so because they pass on to the child, then all this criticism gets passed, is put on the child, and the child thinks they're not good enough. And then the child wants to be perfect, and then they pass that on. Do you see how that works? It's a chain reaction that happens. So, I can even say, within my own thing, I had to take a look, back at the holidays. I remember cooking and not having the space I was staying in to my standards. My standards are, I need a clean kitchen to cook in. And so I remember my kid, my oldest child, getting upset with me because nothing's ever perfect enough for you, mom. And I had to really like go within and go, oh, got it. And so, I can have my standards, but I don't have to project them onto someone else. And then I noticed that when I talked to a friend, then they got defensive. So, do you see the chain reaction that happens here with perfectionism? So, I want to point that out. So, how do we get through perfectionism and how do we detox it from what I call our luminous energy field? So, to detox it from our luminous energy field, we really, first of all, need to recognize that, gee, I got flaws, and it's okay for me to have flaws. And being a human is about having flaws. So it's really about, recognizing that you do have flaws, and that's okay to have flaws. And just because you have flaws does not mean that you're a bad person, does not mean that you are awful. It just means that, hey, I'm human and I have these flaws, right? And so it's like, okay, now the key is not to project your perfectionism onto others. And so it's like recognizing, oh, we can have humility in our lives here. When you can be humiliated by your behavior, then you have become a compassionate being and you can laugh at yourself, right? That's probably the best compassion to have for yourself, is to be able to laugh at yourself. I laugh at myself, and I remember my kid went off on me back in the holidays, and I just went, oh. And in the old days I probably wouldn't have like taken it. I was like, oh, I got it. So you just need to be open to receive. And then, I had to get out of my whole perfectionist piece and not project that onto others. So, anyway, so how do we get out of perfection? So I'm going to tell you from a Chinese medicine perspective, it shows up when our hearts beat really fast and they kind of have this boom, boom texture to the pulses when I'm taking pulses. The other thing you'll notice that when perfection is settling on somebody, the left shoulder is going to be up. It's higher than the right shoulder. So it shows up that way. So I'm teaching you a little bit about body reading, right? So you can notice that when somebody's got a perfectionist issue, oh, this is one way it might show up. The other thing is, you can hold your baby finger because it does help with those what we call tri-twos and one of the modalities that I practice called Jinshin Jitsu. So you can hold that and just breathe and then feel that perfectionism melt away. And then if you can do that, then it's like, oh, the key is remembering who you are. And you came here to have this human experience. And so perfectionism does not have to overtake you and everything has to be perfect because it is a way to shorten your life, to sit there and try to be perfect all the time. And it takes away the presence and the fun and the joy of life. So this is one way to clear it out of your energy field so you don't have it. But it is a block and it is an issue. So we have to be aware of it and we have to work on it and we have to realize that we are worthy even with our flaws and all. And we don't have to be the perfect mom. I remember I used to have to be the perfect mom and my kids had to be the perfect children because you're representing me. Or, you don't have to be the perfect child, which translates when you get older into being the perfect adult, the perfect mom, the perfect wife, the perfect whatever, right? Or the perfect employee or employer. So I think that you have to recognize that we all have flaws. We're here for the human experience and really just love and accept yourself for who you are. Because when you can love and accept yourself for who you are, that radiates out to everyone who you touch. And I'm not talking about physical touch, but I'm talking about who you connect with. And so when you can move through your flaws and be okay with them and love yourself altogether, the frequency of you changes because the frequency of the heart is the frequency of love. And that is where perfectionism, I don't want to say it has to be conquered, but it has to be eradicated or dissolved there. So I hope this was helpful for you because the frequency of perfectionism, it really radiates or puts out the energy of self worth issues. And then there could be some other ones too. So I thank all of you who have joined me. If you like what you have heard, please give me some love. And please feel free to share comments. All right. Thank you. Namaste. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. And stay in all of your self worth and know that you are loved. Bye bye for now.